I know people have been waiting for this, and now it's time for me to talk about this movie. Now that I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it in the theater, and the ticket was paid for. I can't say nothing about that. I'm not gonna say I wasted money. The second time I watched it on HBO Max, and now in the theater, it was dark. I think it was more so the projection. And I now the first time we went, and before I get into thoughts and what have you, I'm sure this is going to be a rambling rant. I'm sure I'm going to get into some spoilers and stuff, and to be honest, I don't care. But the first attempt of watching this movie, we went to the theater Friday night. We got there. There were a couple of people waiting outside. Apparently, there was a power outage, and there was no more showings after 7. And maybe that was a God trying to give me let me know something. That, hey, this movie's bad, stay away from it. But we went Saturday night, and afterwards I'm like, that was it? Now, again, I talked about the first movie. I love the first movie. To me, it's one of the best, video game films. The cast is great. The cast, each person in the cast, brought a presence to the film. From Robin Shaw as Liu Kang, Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage, Christopher Lambert as Raiden. Everybody in this cast, aside from Kano, which, he's, I would say, the best part of the movie, now that I've seen it twice. But even though it got to a point where his character was talking too much, but of the cast, he actually brings a little bit of personality and like some fun pieces of dialogue, and ribbing on the other characters verbally. You get the scene with Kung Lao and what have you, where they're sort of going at it a little bit. I like that part. But the cast, I look at the cast in this movie, and everyone's bland. I look at the cast here on IMDb, and okay, the character of Cole Young, which I'll go ahead and, I know I haven't really talked about the plot, but you know what? Let me backtrack for a second. I'll just kind of quickly go over the plot real quick in a couple of sentences, and then we'll get to the cast. So, the main character of Cole Young, played by Louis Tan, he's a MMA fighter, and you have Earth's greatest champions, which you have the characters of Sonya Blade and Jax, and they seek out our main character, Cole Young, to fight against Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe. And so, Cole, his character, again, he's this MMA fighter, and he loses his first fight in the movie. So, and what the film opens up with, it's back in the 1600s, and you have Scorpion, his character, the character Scorpion, and Sub-Zero. The movie starts off with that, and sort of origin story, but it's kind of half told. Scorpion gets killed, sent to hell, and fast forward to the present day, and then a little bit later on, you find out that the main character, Cole Young, is a descendant of Scorpion. And again, in the present day, Cole Young, he's with these other fighters, like Jax and Sonya Blade, and, you throw Kano in there, Liu Kang, and then you get some, like, Kung Lao, Lord Raiden, and they go up against, Shang Tsung. And you still have the subplot of Sub-Zero and Scorpion. going on still. And that's kind of the plot. I mean, you know the plot just by watching the trailers. I mean, if you watch the trailers, you can already, see what the film is about. Which even then, there's no tournament here, and that's another thing that I'm sure I'll get to. But the cast, now that I've kind of talked about the plot a little bit, the cast to me is bland for the most part. I equate it to, there's no comparison to the original film, the first movie, where everybody had a presence and everybody brought a certain charm to the characters. Whether, Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage or Christopher Lambert as Lord Raiden. The fate of billions will depend upon you. Sorry. And you don't get that here. Everyone is like soppy cardboard. That's what I describe the performances in this film as, very soppy. Like if you had cardboard that you left outside in the rain, and it's just very soppy cardboard, cut out, bland, vanilla, whatever term you want to use. I did not care about this main character, Cole Young, and I think a lot of people are really are on the same page. A lot of people are on the same page when it comes to this main character, because I do not give one iota about Cole Young and this actor. And again, a lot of people feel the same way. Who gives a damn about Cole? And after seeing it twice, and I did not care for this main character. I didn't care for his story. I don't care if he was an MMA fighter. Oh, that he's a descendant of Scorpion. And from what I understand, this was a studio thing, that they wanted a new character to introduce Mortal Kombat, to, I guess, reintroduce, what Mortal Kombat is about, when we already know what it's about. We didn't need a main character to tell us. We didn't need a main character to, springboard a new Mortal Kombat franchise or trilogy. And I just did not care about this character. And again, everybody feels the same way. No one cares about Cole. Birthmark Cole is what I call him. And the whole subplot with that, where he's got to find his arcana, or whatever that term they use in the film, with the birthmark, and kind of like animality. Which, before anyone even asks, I'd rather go back and rewatch Mortal Kombat Annihilation. As bad as that is, at least I can enjoy the soundtrack, Jax, some of the fights and choreography. That alone is better. It's less bland than this movie. As bad as that film is, it's definitely not glorious. As Shao Kahn put it. But compared to this movie, it could be. I'd rather watch Annihilation. Again, as bad as it is, as crappy of a sequel as that film is. Yeah, it's garbage. But you know what? I get more out of that from the 2 or 3 things that I mentioned. From the soundtrack, Jax, some of the choreography. That's more than what this film than what this film had. In terms of cast and more that I'll get to. But I did not care about this character, this main character of Cole. The actress that played Sonya Blade. To be honest, I was just very indifferent. Again, Kano, played by Josh Lawson. Again, he's the best part of this movie. It's like, he is the one that has the most personality, even though at times it kind of got to a point where he doesn't shut up. Even Sonya Blade makes a joke about that. She's like, why don't you shut up? But out of the whole cast, and maybe Kung Lao. Like, the little bit with Kung Lao, I'll kind of go ahead a little bit. I like the little bits with Kung Lao. And sort of the verbal sparring that he had with Kano. But spoiler alert, even a little bit later on where not Kano, but Kung Lao sacrifices his life for Cole. I hated that. So, the guy that played Kano, again, I thought he had the most personality of this cast. Like, I did not care about this Jax. His arms, which you could obviously CGI. I mean, and that's the thing, like Mortal Kombat Annihilation, it was practical. I appreciate that it was practically made. And here it's like, it's just, you can definitely tell it's CG. I mean, I just didn't really care. I didn't care for this Jax. I would say indifferent is the word I would use. Indifferent. Very indifferent. This actor who played Lord Raiden, bland, vanilla. There's no comparison to Christopher Lambert. And at times, I couldn't understand, some of the dialogue that he was given or that he was saying. Like, you can't really, you put this guy side by side with Christopher Lambert, and there's no comparison. You can't compare to, Christopher Lambert, to me, he played that character with a charm and a presence, and this guy has none of it. He's empty. The performance is dull and bland and one note. The guy that played Scorpion, I know I've seen this guy before. He was the villain in Rush Hour 3. He was a 47 Ronin. And, even with that, the whole Scorpion Sub-Zero subplot, like, you get a little bit of the beginning, and then you get it in the end in the final fight. Which even then, it's not much of a fight, because it ends up becoming a 2-on-1 anyway. Where, the main character of Cole is thrown in. So... Scorpion and Cole get those shots on Sub-Zero. But, okay. I mean, like Scorpion, Sub-Zero, the little bit that they had at the end, it was just nothing to write home about. But that's a lot of the fight scenes in this movie. Like, a lot of it is shot so quickly and so, heavily cut that it doesn't have time to... I don't understand. This is 2021. We're in the age of, for example, the John Wick trilogy. And we can't make fight scenes like that. This is a tournament movie, for God's sakes. This is Mortal Kombat, and this is the best that you can do. And people might say, well, it's the studios, and studios, they wanted this main character. And it does seem like this film is a Marvel try-hard. It does. I mean, between the main character, which you don't care about, he's a Winter Soldier wannabe with this plot armor, and whoever came up with that, I give credit. But I'm going all over the place. I'm going all over the place with this movie. Here it is, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm ranting on this movie incoherently. But again, going back to what I was saying before. The Sub-Zero Scorpion subplot. I mean, the finale fight, it's really nothing to write home about. And you got some other wasted characters in here, like Goro. He's pretty much there to job to Cole. Where Cole finds his armor, like he's a Winter Soldier. He's a Winter Soldier wannabe. Obviously, this seems what they were going for. Were they going for that? Were they trying to go for, the Marvel crowd here? So let's give this character armor that just comes out of nowhere, and then he defeats Goro. And, I hated that, Goro looking bad and, being all CGI, and I'm like, to me, in the first movie, Goro fights Johnny Cage takes out Goro, and at least Goro was practically built. It was a animatronic. It looked so much better. It looked more tangible. To me, it's more tangible than CGI. Now, I know I can rant on that all day, but Goro is wasted. If you're a fan of that character, he's wasted here. Goro is a jobber because he gets into a fight with Cole at a barn. Because at one point in the film, Cole is sent back to Earth because, Raiden sends him back that, he's a loser. And then that's when Goro shows up and Goro gets taken out he has like a 2-minute fight, and it's so quick. I mean, blink, it's over. And that's a lot of the action here in this movie. Blink and it's over. Like, you blink one time and then it's over. Because the fight scenes, it's so heavily cut, it's so in and out, and they don't take the time, to make well-shot action fight scenes. Again, this is a Mortal Kombat film. A film that should feature a tournament. How can you call this Mortal Kombat when there is no tournament? Oh, we're saving it for the sequels. No. You were talking about, they were pumping up this film like this is going to, be the best Mortal Kombat film, and we're going to have the fatalities and the gore. Which you do get a couple of fatalities. There's one notable moment that I like with Kung Lao. That was probably, to me, my favorite moment in the film. But even they don't go all the way with that. Yeah, you get a couple of moments here and there. But again, going back to what I was saying, they just really wanted to pump this up as if, it's going to be the best Mortal Kombat film. If you feel that way about this film, that's fine. More power to you. I would not agree that this is better than the first movie. To me, the first movie has so much more going for it. This film doesn't even sniff the ass of the first movie. Because again, the cast in the first movie was better soundtrack, which the score in this film is forgettable and one note. It just sounds like the same thing you've heard many times, whether it be in comic book films, other films, the same generic score. And it just fits with it's all generic. That's what this film is. It's generic combat. Generic combat. Or mortal bland. But the score is forgettable. The first film had great score, great soundtrack, great fight scenes, more memorable fight scenes. Yeah, Liu Kang, Sub-Zero, Johnny Cage and Scorpion, Johnny Cage and Goro, Kano, Sonya Blade. This film, what maybe, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, which I mentioned at the end. But even that, that's the closest that you can say is the best fight scene of this movie. Because some of the other fights that happen, it's so quick. You have Liu Kang versus Cabal for a little bit. There's a lot of going back and forth between some of the fight scenes that it doesn't take the time to focus. And it doesn't have room to breathe. And again, it's just, you got Liu Kang, Cabal. You got a little bit of Liu Kang and Sub-Zero, but you don't get much of that because you get interference from Kung Lao. Kano, Sonya Blade versus Kano. Kano goes out with a very stupid comeuppance. Where he gets a garden gnome to the eye because of an earlier scene. And I'm trying to think what else to mention. I mean, It's just, again, going back to the characters. See, I keep going back to this movie, it just, again, characters are wasted. Goro's wasted. Even if you're a big fan of these characters, like Cabal, which I've heard of Cabal from some of the later video games. I did not know that he had a New York accent. To me, he sounded like one of the Union guys in Eraser with Arnold. You remember when, at the end of Eraser, when Arnold, recruits the Union guys to help him out? I was waiting for Cabal to say, "Nobody screws with the Union." Because he sounds like one of those guys. I'm not lying. That kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm like, Cabal's New Yorkish? But... Melina, again, there's nothing to her. Which is funny because, Cole gets into a fight with Goro, takes out Goro, but he's, in the next fight, Cole is struggling against Melina. So, and the guy that played Shang Tsung, I thought he was one note. I've seen this actor before, and again, I thought he was one note. And this director... Apparently this is a first-time director, and you can see it. This guy... And again, people want to say, well, blame it on the studios, blame it on the studios. I blame all parties. The studios, the director, and everybody involved. Like, to me, this is not... didn't you notice on IMDb, when this film came out, that it started off with an 8, and it just keep going down and down and down and down? Because people are starting to see that this film, for a person that may not have ever played Mortal Kombat before, or, like you may find this okay. To me, Mortal Kombat, it's so simple. And the first film did it the best, which makes it like why it's the best video game film. Because it's straightforward. And you actually have a tournament. You have characters you care about. And you have the fight scenes and the soundtrack. And this is the great value version of the first movie. This is a generic... paint by numbers reboot. This is the great value version, or maybe that could be an insult to great value brand. The cast, I don't care about. I don't care about this main character. No Johnny Cage. Oh, we're saving him for the sequels. Why didn't you bring him in from the get-go? Oh, he's problematic. No, this film is problematic. This film, from the director, the cast, everybody involved, this film is problematic. Johnny Cage... See, it's early. It's early, and I'm just sort of rambling about here. But I don't care. I really don't care. I've seen this film twice now. And I just had to get off my chest. As early as it is. But this, at the end of the day, I'm trying to think of positives here. I wrote down notes, and I'm not even really going off of that. I can't say much positives. Let me go back here. To me, there's the cons outweigh the pros. Kano, again, maybe he's okay because he has the most personality of the cast. Kung Lao, for what little he had, I liked, but that was short-lived. The revenge plot maybe could have worked, but they don't really expand on that. You see in the beginning, you see in the end, but you get interference from Cole, so it's a 2-on-1, a la Lethal Weapon 4. And, you know, and the guy that played Liu Kang, I didn't even mention him. I thought he was bland. I've seen it before. I know he was in the Power Rangers reboot. And because his character, this Liu Kang is more of a spiritual version of the character, more akin to the video games, so I understand that. But still, Robin Shao to me did it better. And I mean, if I go down the list of, again, Cole Young, pointless character. And the whole, skin armor, the plot armor. Fight scenes, way too fast, very heavily cut. It doesn't have time to breathe or to, some of the best fight scenes, right. Characters wasted. Raiden, bland. Shang Tsung, bland. No tournament. Weird editing. Lame score. See my camera. It's blurring out here. I didn't forget. I don't know for how long this camera's been blurring out. But maybe see my camera is failing on me. My camera is like, I'm done. I'm done recording this review. And, let's not talk about this movie anymore. Let's move on. And I can't blame you. I can't blame you, webcam. Please, hang on. I'm getting ready to be done with this review. I'm getting ready to be done with this rant. Don't fail me now. But yeah, so if you like this movie, that's fine. To me, this film, it's a generic, bland, in one ear, out the other film. And it's so infuriating because it's Mortal Kombat. And you can't, which I say, follow the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And at the end of the day, this movie can kiss my ass. So, if you like it, more power to you, but I'm done talking about this movie. So, thank you for watching. I know it took a little bit, it took a week to talk about this movie. It's been a busy week of work and what have you, but now I can finally get this off my chest. And I can move on from this movie. But thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with this throughout this review. But have a good day, and I'll see you later.